Welcome everyone. This is Indian Express of 14 September 2022 and I will explain this newspaper in 3 steps. First is why is the news, second is what is the news, and third is what can be the future prospects of the news. So let's get started with the first news. Indian and Chinese troops complete disengagement in hot springs region. So why exactly this news has come? Because we have seen a day before yesterday that Indian and Chinese have decided to disengage from the Gogra hot spring region, which is located in East Ladakh. So now there is a news that they have completed the disengagement process. Now we see in the red, dismantling structures, restoring landforms, part of 5-step process. So there is a 5-step process that will be done. Now, stage set possible for Modi-Xi meeting on SCO summit sidelines in Samarkand. So this week there is going to be an SCO summit in Uzbekistan, Samarkand. So because of these disengagement, there will be possibility of more open talks between Prime Minister Modi and Xi Jinping. So starting with the first news, Indian and Chinese troops have completed the disengagement process at patrolling point 15 in the Gogra hot spring region, which is in eastern Ladakh, sources said. In a military establishment said Tuesday. The process was completed on Tuesday afternoon. Earlier in the day, sources said that the process was still ongoing. So we see the day before yesterday that there was a news that process is going on, but we see the process has now completed. With successful completion of the disengagement processes, the stage is set for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's possible meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Samarkand on the sidelines of Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit that is going to be held on 15th and 16th September. So we know that this Shanghai Cooperation Organization consists of India, Pakistan, China, Russia, and more countries such as Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and all these countries. So there is a system of having multilateral talks, but Prime Minister Modi and Xi Jinping can also do a sideline bilateral talks. This has not been confirmed, but can happen. So there is given a meeting between Modi and Xi has not yet been confirmed, but it's not being ruled out either. Last week, the government has said that disengagement process in the area started on Thursday and would be completed by Monday. But the completion of that process took another day. The 6-day process has 5 components. It completed in 5 steps. First was stop forward deployments. That means no more movement towards each other. Second, return of troops of both sides to their respective areas. Come back to where you were. So no forward moving, only backward movement. Dismantling of all temporary structure and other allied infrastructure. Whatever structure or infrastructure you have made in those areas, dismantle them. And then restore landforms in the area to possible standoff positions by both sides. Now, stopping of forward deployment. In a phased, coordinated and verified manner, and ensuring structures are dismantled and mutually verified. So both sides wants to verify it with mutual consensus. Top government sources told Indian Express that strict instruction has been given to local army commanders and officers to verify each movement. Very strict commands have been given. You verify each and every movement of both sides in order to make this disengagement a complete success. Instructions has also been issued to commanders to complete the entire process in a calm manner, no fights. and not escalate tensions in the area. What is the idea? Idea is to ensure that no untoward incident took place. Sources said, hinting at the Galwan clashes which took place over disengagement at PP14 in June 2020, and this occurred in 2020. Galwan clashes. We have seen this in internet. A lot of clash. You can say a lot of bloodshed by both the armies. To do not make this again, both sides have tried to make this disengagement a calm move. But the wider escalation of 60,000 troops and arms and ammunitions, what exactly is ammunition? Heavy equipments on each side. The sources said is still to be negotiated because such movement is slow. It's not that fast as human movement. PP15 disengagement decision, it was taken before Defense Minister Rajnath Singh and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar when they left for Tokyo for India-Japan 2+2 ministerial meeting last week. I've explained this, what really occurred at this meeting, what were the gains by both sides, India and Japan. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, he was overseeing the process in New Delhi along with the top brass of the armed forces. So all of these were having keen eyes on this process. Jaishankar and Singh, S. Jaishankar and Rajnath Singh, they both also briefed on the process. With the disengagement at PP15 completed, forces of the two countries locked in a face-off ever since May 2020. So this was a conflict. Both sides were stuck in this conflict after the Galwan clashes. Now they have disengaged at all frictions point in the region, which included north and south banks of Pangong So. Pangong is also a lake there, PP14, PP15, PP17A. However, other contentions related to boundary still remains between two countries. There is still a clash, conflict point, but Chinese forces have continued to block Indian access to traditional patrolling areas along the LAC in the Depsang Plains and Charding Nala region. So they have blocked Indians to get access to where they were patrolling traditionally. And these two areas are the Depsang Plains and Charding Nala regions. They're not allowing Indian to get access to these areas. Now the last disengagement between the forces of the two countries, this have been achieved at PP17A in August 2021 following the 12th COP commander level meeting. So 12th meeting, you can see that. How many rounds of talk? 3 rounds of talk that followed, and there was no breakthrough. So lastly, an agreement was reached in 16th round. A lot of conflict, you can see that. 16 times this COP commander level meeting occurred, and then this disengagement have a follow through. So we see in the future what will happen. SCO will happen. We will see SCO in 15th and 16th of this September, and we will see what exactly the Prime Minister Modi and Xi Jinping are going to discuss. We will see whether the bilateral talks will occur or not, if there is a possibility that it will occur. And if not, then we will see the multilateral talks between these countries. Now coming to our second news, which is government confirms. Now what is the confirmation? Delhi to host G20 summit next September. So September 2023. Invited 9 guest countries. What exactly are the 9 guests? Who exactly are these 9 guest countries? You will see that in the news. Ministry of External Affairs said that India, Indonesia, Brazil, they will form a troika, a first of 3 developing countries. So we'll see exactly what is the news and how India will host this G20 leadership summit. So India will host the G20 leadership summit in New Delhi on September 9th and 10th in 2023 under its presidency. The Ministry of External Affairs, it has announced this news on Tuesday. Now first we will see what here is main focus of G20. Since 2011, G20 summit has been held annually under a rotating presidency. So annually, a new president country comes in the G20. This time 2023, India will become that. Initially, the G20 focused on broad macroeconomic policies, but now its areas has expanded that include trade, climate change, sustainable development, energy, environment, climate change, and then again anti-corruption. So it has expanded its ambit, expanded its area. So all these will be focus topics of the G20 summit. Now India will assume the G20 presidency for 1 year from December 1, 2022 to November 30, 2023. And it is expected that it will host over 200 meetings across the country starting December this year. Ministry of External Affairs said these 9 countries, Bangladesh, Egypt, Mauritius, Netherlands, Nigeria, Oman, Singapore, Spain, UAE, these all will be invited as a guest countries. What are the priorities of India's G20 summit? India's G20 priorities are in the process of being firmed up. They're not yet been disclosed. They are in the ongoing making process. Resolved around inclusive, equitable and sustainable growth. So that will be main, you can call focus. Life. What exactly life stands for? Lifestyle for environment, women's empowerment, digital public infrastructure, tech-enabled development in areas that range from health, agriculture, education, commerce, skill mapping, culture, tourism, climate financing, circular economy, then again global food security. And when it's come to security, how can we forget energy security? Talking about energy, we get green hydrogen, which is almost very much in news nowadays. Disaster risk reduction and resilience, development cooperation, fight against economic crime, and also some multilateral reforms. What exactly Ministry of External Affairs has said? We have this statement with us. During our presidency, India, Indonesia, Brazil, they will form a troika. This would be the first time when troika would consist of 3 developing countries and also emerging economies, providing these countries, which is India, Indonesia, Brazil, it will provide them a greater voice. What exactly is G20? If you don't know, for starters, is given G20 is a group of 20 intergovernmental forum of the world's major developed and developing economies. Comprises 19 countries. What exactly are the 19 countries? So you know, major countries are there, but also some countries that are emerging as major economies. So starting with A. So it is given here alphabetical wise. I will explain you. Argentina, you know, that is in South America. Then Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, you know these countries are massive economies. Then India, developing country. Indonesia, Italy, Japan, again a massive economy. Republic of Korea, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Turkey, UK, US, and then EU. So these are the 19 countries and 1 is EU. So this 19 plus EU, it gives us G20. Collectively, G20 accounts for 85% of the global GDP. So you see a lot of major economies are there, 85% with these 19 countries and 1 union. 75% of the international trade, 2/3 of the world's population, 2/3, making it a premier forum for international economic cooperation. India is currently a part of G20 Troika, current, previous, and also incoming G20 presidencies. that also comprises Indonesia, Italy, and India. What is the work of G20? What exactly does it do? First, finance track. It has 8 work streams. And what exactly are these streams? First, global macroeconomic policies, making these, infrastructure financing, international financial architecture, then again sustainable finance, very important and a hot topic today. Financial inclusion, health finance, international taxation, then financial sectors reforms. What it does? We have second point with us, Sherpa track with 12 work streams. What are these 12 work streams? Anti-corruption, agriculture, culture, development, digital economy, employment, environment and climate, then education, energy. This is energy transition. You see, from non-renewable to renewable. This is exactly the energy transition, and for what reason? To make our climate and our environment sustainable. So this is exactly energy transition is for. Then health, trade, investment, tourism, and then 10 disengagement groups of private sectors, civil societies, independent bodies. And what are these groups? Business 20, civil 20, labor 20, parliament 20, science 20. So this is part of G20. You see, it includes some private sector, some civil society, and some independent bodies. So 20 businesses of all these groups. Civil 20, labor 20, parliament 20, science 20, supreme audit institution 20, then think 20, urban 20, women 20, and youth 20. So we see all of it is include in G20, very important institution for all over the world, and we see that importance with this paragraph. With 85% GDP, 75% trade, and 2/3 of the world population, we see the decisions it make are affecting the whole planet. So this is important. We will see how India will take such presidency, and what will it will be the how it will exactly handle, because such a great pressure too. Now we will come to second. This is the city page, then again city page, then comes the government and politics page, and we have seen this EWS. I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday. This was a news that EWS is constitutional or not. So what exactly is written? Amendment for EWS quota is fraud on constitution. This is told by Supreme Court. Now what exactly Supreme Court has told? Questioning submissions that 103rd constitutional amendment. This is the amendment that provides reservation to EWS without any guardrails, unlike in the case of reservations for backward class, where conditions like maintenance of efficiency of administration is prescribed in the Article 335. So Supreme Court is saying that this EWS is not according to maintenance of efficiency of administration, unlike these backward classes reservation. Supreme Court said on Thursday that Constitution did not provide for any such guardrails, even in the case of reservation for women. Constitution has no such thing. Looking at the Article 15(3), which is a part of original Constitution, that's also an immutable fact, that till you raise the status of women through employment, for that there are no guardrails. So talking about that, there is no mention of giving such reservation to women and also EWS sector. So how can you make that? Backwardness, backward class. Commission, SC/ST commission, that kind of constitutional mechanism is not provided. Also we see that adequacy of representation is also not spoken of in 15(3). So what exactly that means? It means that adequacy of representation, it means that we hope for 50% reservation of women, but that is not spoken in any clause, in fact, not in the third clause of Article 15, and yet it is in reservation. You see, 1/3 reservation for Panchayati Raj and also municipal corporation. This was called by Justice S. Ravin Bhatt. He also added that this is just to flag one possible way of looking at it, that the original constitution also thought of the kind of restorative, or you can call representational channel mechanism, which did not depend on this kind of identification. What is this? What does this statement mean? It means that you cannot identify a person based on income. This is not a kind of representation channel or a kind of mechanism. It cannot depend on this kind of identification. Now, Article 15(3), this enables the state to make special provisions for women and children. We see that, but has not given equal, or you can call 50%, or not given any adequacy of representation. Now, Justice Bhatt was responding to submissions by senior advocate Meenakshi Arora, who told the bench that presided by Chief Justice of India, U. Lalit, that in the case of EWS quota, there are no guardrails and not even an endpoint, unlike in backward class reservation, where once they are adequately represented, there is an endpoint. So you see, there is given in the SC/ST reservation that once they are adequately represented in the society and also in the government, there can be a quit to such reservation, but there is no such thing given in women case, in EWS case. And also appearing for the petition, G. Mohan Gopal, an academic, he called that amendment an attack on constitutional vision of social justice. He called that a fraud on the constitution. He told the bench, that also comprises Justice Dinesh Maheshwari, Belam Trivedi and J.B. Pardiwala, that going by the warnings of P.R. Ambedkar, if this amendment is upheld, that will be the end of equality of opportunity. He argued that equality was a demand of backward communities, never of the elite. And the backward classes are not interested in reservation. We are interested in representation. They want representation in the society, not reservation. This is being called by the person who is G. Mohan Gopal. So this hearing of EWS quota is going on. Now we will see what will happen next. Maybe it will come in the next newspaper. So we will see there. Now this comes the Express Network. There is a news about some accident, so that is not important. This Cheetah Mitras to watch towers. Kuno ready to host African guest. Why exactly this news has come? Because we have seen that Prime Minister is going to welcome these cheetahs in the Kuno National Park, and they are coming from Namibia to India. So what exactly is the news and how they will come? So equipped with a small shed for shade and few trees, 50 by 30 meter quarantine enclosure is already at the Madhya Pradesh Kuno National Park to host these 8 cheetahs that are arriving from Namibia. Prime Minister Modi will release 3 cheetahs, 2 male siblings and a female, into the enclosure Saturday to launch this reintroduction of species in India. These cheetahs were called extinct from India. Now they are relaunched into India. Merely 2 hours before the arrival of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a helicopter with all 8 cheetahs on board will land 200 meters away from the exposure inside the core area of 748 square kilometers Kuno National Park. So this will occur. They will come here now on Tuesday officials from public work departments of Madhya Pradesh, they were busy. Obviously, they will be busy, and what they were doing, they were giving finishing touches to 5 helipads, and the approach road up to quarantine enclosure. Why exactly 5 helipads? Because more guests are expected to come here alongside Narendra Modi. These cheetahs, these are aged between 5 and 6. They will be quarantined first for 1 month under constant observation. Now, during this quarantine period, cheetah will need not hunt, and they will not hunt, so they will be given fallow meat. What is the idea? Idea is to ensure that no other animal find its way inside, allowing the big cats to acclimatize well to the new environs. So in order to make them comfortable, to make the area more habitable, they will be given such things, and they will be given some time to just uh, make this environment their own habitat. This was said by a senior forest department official who is supervising the preparations at the Kuno National Park. Each cheetah will be given 2 to 3 kg of meat every 2-3 days. During their quarantine period, there will be minimum human intervention to avoid human imprint. In case there is a need to intervention, it will be done using camouflage. So in order to not make them scared, this will be done using camouflage. Obviously, humans cannot camouflage, they cannot change their skin color. So obviously wearing some clothes like that, it will be done. After quarantine period is over, the cheetah will be released into a 550-hectare enclosure divided into 9 compartments that are interconnected through gates. Now these compartments will ensure that animals can be easily separated in case such a need arises. So 3 cheetahs will be released by Prime Minister. Then he will address also a group of forest guards and 200 odd cheetah mitra at the Palpur guest house before he will head to Karal. According to forest official, cheetah mitra, who are these people? There's a group of about 400 youngsters who have been trained to create awareness among the villagers about cheetahs, and to tell them that how these cheetahs are different from leopard in behavior and also in looks. So these are cheetah mitra. So what will happen after quarantine? These cheetahs will have to hunt. Obviously, they have to live by their own for the survival in the big enclosure where they will stay for another month. Now this cheetah's behavior will be watched, and once they have adapted to the new habitat, then they will be released in Kuro National Park. So 2 months of, you can call, quarantine. The enclosure has high prey base that includes over 300 cheetahs. 11.7 kilometer long peripheral fence has electric charge to keep other animals out at bay. Officials pointed out that while leopards and cheetahs coexisted in Namibia and Africa, but the enclosures are being freed of leopards to make the guest animals feel safe in their new habitats. So while leopards and cheetahs, they have coexisted in the Namibia area, but in order to make these guest animal more comfortable and more safe, these leopards will also be kept out of their area. So once the cheetahs have acclimatized well, once they become comfortable, they will be released into the Kuno National Park, and they will survive with nearly 150 odd leopards. To keep poachers at bay, to keep poachers out, 5 drone squads have been readied. 5 watchtowers with CCTV cameras have been erected, and at least 34 retired military personnel have been hired to keep these Namibia cheetahs safe. So this event is also very interesting. We hope when this is going to be done on Saturday, I think. Yeah. Okay, so you can also watch this on Saturday in any of internet platforms. Then comes the express page. Then there is also not much news. Now comes the explain page. It has a CRISPR technology based article, CRISPR beginning to deliver. So how exactly this genome is edited with CRISPR? So first, this is the step. First, target the right gene. You have first to make the target. What exactly is the gene that you want to edit? Now scientists engineers a piece of RNA that is match for the DNA they want to edit. This is called guide RNA. Now bind the target. There's an enzyme which is called Cas9, and this enzyme binds to a piece of DNA and temporarily unwinds a section of DNA. Now cut the DNA. If the guide RNA matches a section of DNA, Cas9 enzyme cuts both strands of the DNA double helix. So it's a complicated process and also very scientific. So this is enzyme, and then it is cut, and then guide RNA is being matched to that DNA. So this is how this genome editing is done. Over the last 2.5 years, the coronavirus pandemic ravaged the world. We know that, and exposed the vulnerability of humans to new diseases. Now, scientists have continued to push ahead with significant progress in utilizing an existing recent technology for permanent cures to some of the most intractable health disorders. So, they are using such technology for permanent cure. In the 10 years since it was developed, which is a genome editing technology also called CRISPR, this has begun to deliver on the near unlimited potential that scientists say that it will improve the quality of human life. So this technology is used for this purpose. How this technology is really helpful. This technology enables a simple but remarkably efficient way to edit the genetic code of living organism. And this helps then in correcting genetic information in order to cure diseases, prevent physical deformities, or even produce cosmetic enhancement. So you know, a lot of things depend on your gene. What exactly is the gene will make you what you are. If there is some gene defect, then it can make an inborn baby a deformed, or you can call it can create a physical deformity. So in order to prevent that, we can just simply edit that gene, and then this physical deformity will not be there. Over the last 3 years, especially several therapeutic interventions that have used CRISPR for diseases like thalassemia or sickle cell anemia, they have gone into clinical trials, mainly in US, and the initial results have been flawless. So this is exactly for gene editing. You find something wrong in the gene that can make a disease, you end that. So this is exactly what this technology is. Last year, the Indian government also approved 5-year project to develop this technology to cure sickle cell anemia that mainly afflicts tribal population. This is just the beginning. Hundreds of research groups and companies are working to develop a range of specific solutions using this technology. Developers of technology who are Jennifer Doudna and Emmanuel Charpentier, they won Nobel Prize for Chemistry in 2020 for this. CRISPR technology, what is the full form? Cluster Regulatory Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeats, which is a reference to a cluster and repetitive sequence of DNA that is found in bacteria, and it is a natural mechanism to fight some viral diseases. And this is replicated, this is made in this gene editing tool. Editing or modification of gene sequences in order to eliminate. So this is done to does both the things. It eliminates specific genes and also it can introduce specific genes. So eliminate or introduce specific properties in an organism, it's not a new development. It has been happening for several decades now. Particularly in this field of agriculture, we see hybrid and modified variants with specific desirable traits. These are regularly developed. It usually involves the introduction of a new gene or suppression of an existing gene through a process which is described as genetic engineering. So both these processes, whether you introduce a new gene or you suppress an existing gene. CRISPR technology is different. It's simple, far more accurate, does not involve the introduction of any new gene from outside. It just cut, copy, paste, or find and replace functionality in common computer programs. So a bad stretch in DNA sequence, which is a cause of disease or disorder, is located, cut, and then removed. And after that process has occurred, it is replaced with the correct sequence. So you see, there is a stretch in the DNA which is responsible for any disease or disorder. Then this stretch in the sequence is located, cut, removed, and then replaced with correct sequence. The tools used to achieve these are not mechanical. These are biochemical specific proteins and RNA molecules, not done with any physical thing. It is done by chemical proteins and RNA molecules. This technology replicates a natural defense mechanism in some bacteria. They use similar methods to protect itself from virus attack. So this is inspired by natural mechanism of bacteria. Technology in action. The first task is to identify the particular sequence. Obviously, first is to identify that this is the cause of the trouble. Once identification is done, then RNA molecule is programmed to locate that sequence on DNA, just like find or search function on computer. When that is located, then a special protein which is called Cas9, which is also described as genetic scissor, that is now used to break the DNA strands at a specific point and then remove the bad sequence. So when a DNA strand which is broken, it has natural tendency to reattach and heal itself. When two sides are broken and one piece is removed, these two sides, they reattach and then they heal itself naturally. But if the auto repair mechanism is allowed to continue, bad sequence can regrow. So what scientists do? During the auto repair process, they supply the correct sequence of genetic code. So instead of making these 2 points to join together naturally, what they do is they do not join them. They introduce a new correct sequence of genetic code which attaches to the both sides of the DNA. It's like cutting out damaged part of a long zipper, replacing it with a normally functioning part. So you can imagine this. And if you cannot find it imaginable in your mind, then you can also find it on internet by some I think animations can explain it. If I will find it, then I will put the link in description. The entire process is programmable and it has remarkable efficiency. So chances of error are not entirely ruled out. There can be error also, but it has some remarkable efficiency. What are the possibilities that it presents? Why exactly is this technology used? Vast number of diseases, disorders, these are genetic in nature. They are caused by unwanted changes or mutations in genes. What are these diseases? Such as blood disorders, sickle cell anemia, eye disease, color blindness, types of cancers, diabetes, HIV, liver and heart diseases. Many of these are hereditary as well. So this technology opens up the possibility of finding a permanent cure to many of these diseases. This is also true for deformities that arises out of abnormalities in gene sequence. So a lot of deformities in physical deformities especially occur because of these genes, like stunted slow growth, speech disorders, or inability to stand or walk. All these are cured by just removing that part of gene. Now also CRISPR is just a platform. It's a tool to edit gene sequence. What is to be edited and where exactly it is to be edited is different in different cases. Therefore, a specific solution needs to be revised. We is to be revised for every disease or disorder that is to be corrected. That solution could be specific to particular population or a racial group, since these are also dependent on gene. Now, CRISPR-based therapeutic solutions, these are not a form of pill or drug. Instead, what is done, some cells of every patient are extracted, genes are edited, then corrected genes are re-injected into the patient. It's not like taking pill. You have to give your cell, then it is edited and then re-injected. Over the last 3 years, such solutions have been undergoing clinical trials. These mainly pertain to blood disorders, diabetes, inherited eye disease, and some kinds of cancer. So there is a case of a person, Victoria Gray, suffering from sickle cell anemia, who was in the first batch of patients who were treated using CRISPR-based solution. So it was an experiment. It was widely tracked. Now Gray is considered to be cured. Several others also who volunteered also have responded positively. In India, Debojyoti Chakrabarti and Souvik Matti, they were at CSIR Institute of Genomics and Integrative Biology. They have indigenously developed a CRISPR-based therapeutic solution for sickle cell anemia. This is the first time in India. Now this is ready for clinical trials. What they said is, we are just starting the preclinical phase. This is obviously on first, any clinical trial is done on animals. Humans are the next. So first it will be done on animals. It will take about 2 to 3 years to reach the clinical trial stage. So first disease that is being targeted for CRISPR-based therapy in Japan. For this is the first time we see that. Japan has also approved the commercialization, cultivation of a tomato variety that has been improved using CRISPR-based intervention. So Japan is doing it for vegetables, not even started for humans or animals. In India, several research groups are working on CRISPR-based enhancement for various crops that include rice and banana. So this is a great technology, but negatives are always there in any of the technology. So what is the ethical dilemma? So because of CRISPR's power to induce dramatic changes in an individual, what scientists have doubted, scientists that include the main developer Doudna, they have been warning of the potential for the misuse of technology. What exactly is the misuse? Designer babies. In 2018, Chinese researcher disclosed that he has altered the gene of human embryo to prevent the infection of HIV. So this was the first documented case of creating a designer baby, and it causes widespread concern in the scientific community. Preventive intervention to obtain a specific trait is not something that scientists currently want the technology to be used for. So this technology is used for making diseases not come in human beings because of genes, not to make designer babies, to obtain specific traits by this technology. Also because the changes were made in the embryo itself, the new acquired traits were likely to be passed into future generation. And the technology is fairly accurate, it's not 100% precise, could also induce a few errors, making changes in other genes. So this also have a possibility of being inherited by successive generation. So you are dealing with human genes that can make it or break it. In case of therapeutic intervention, the changes on a genetic sequence remain with the individual and are not passed to the offspring. So we see that this was a major technology. It works, how it works I've explained well. So if even you do not understand and you want to see more in imagetic or you can say anonymous form, then you can see the link in the description box. If I will find it, I will drop it there. Now next come the economy page. We see on freebies, debate is required, no doubt. Why exactly this news has come? Because there's a lot of debate about freebies, and Supreme Court is doing such debate. So I think this heading was more of saying everything when this debate will occur and what exactly will be the reasons and logics. We will see that it will come in future. So this headline is only important. Now next come the world news. Ukraine pushes to retake all territories from Russia, calls for Western arms. So we see that Ukraine is now trying to retake, to regain all the territories that it lost to Russia, to Russia's invasion. And Ukraine is calling for more Western arms. So we will see that it has gained already the Kharkiv region. You see that in this figure, 3,400 square miles. It wants to get the Donbas region also, and then Crimea, which was lost in 2014. So they want that also back. Now there is another news. FATF, Asia Pacific Group, rates Pakistan low on all 10 of 11 global goals. So this FATF, what that stands for? You see, FATF is Financial Action Task Force. They have, you can say, graded Pakistan as real low in 10 out of every 11 international goals. And what were these goals? Anti-money laundering, combating the financing of terror. All of these Pakistan were graded low, and there is also an exit of Pakistan from the grey list. The exit from Financial Action Task Force grey list. How it will help? It will restore Pakistan image and also give confidence to foreign investors for doing ventures in the country. What exactly is grey list? If a country is made to enter into grey list, it makes it hard for the countries to do financial transactions and also raises the cost of doing business. The Pakistan removal from the grey list will help give impetus, or you can call it strength, to its economy. So I think this was important more. And this comes an end to our newspaper. And you can read this newspaper as well.